Hello everybody and welcome back to Dio's Art Emporium. Today we are looking at a drawing that I made very recently. And it's one that I'm really proud of. It's basically the cover of Holy Diver by Ronnie James Dio, and it's just made completely JoJo themed. Let's get a close-up on all that. Now, what makes me most proud of this is that for most of it, I wasn't using any reference photos. I was just sort of going. I think like the only time I used a reference was like just like getting those like really faint lines at the beginning, and then just fucking after that just doing whatever the hell felt right, and it kind of paid off. Now, here are all the materials that I used to make it. You'd need sketch pencils, color pencils, and colored ink pens. So yeah, since this feels like a big accomplishment for me, I'm just gonna walk you through the whole process as best as I can, really. So, first thing I did was just making the little sketches. Of course, you can't see them now because they're blocked out by everything else. Yeah, I looked at the cover of Holy Diver. I was like, oh, I can do that. Did the head shape, added the horns, which are much more prominent than the size of the head on fucking Zawarudo. And after about a few attempts, it was really starting to get on my nerves. It just felt really bad. I just felt really bad. Like I wasn't doing as well as I could have. And so eventually I came back and just decided, forget the head altogether. We'll focus on the body first. Which is not something that you should normally do, but I did anyways. And so yeah, it eventually became to a shape somewhat similar to this. And I just did that around for the whip, which in the original cover was chains, but I decided to make it Hermit Purple in this one because since Dio has both Jonathan's body and his own, he was able to get two stands, one of them being a Hermit Purple type thing. And I noticed in the reference that there was a moon behind them, so I just sort of drew the circle, just like a sort of circle shape for it, and you can see it got out of hand quickly. And the other sketches I did with the reference were, it was sort of like a really rough sketch of this wall. There was only like a few real indentations and variations in elevation with it. Alright. And God, trying to aim my hand inside the camera frame is like trying to control a shitty video game. And over here, in the cover art, there was a guy that was he looked like he was dressed as a priest or something, chained up and drowning and shit. Well, just fucking Demon McSlappy Whip over there just went ham. And so I decided, hey, this makes me think of that scene in the end of part 1, where Dio's trying to steal Jonathan's body with the weird tendril things. And so I started trying to get general. So after like the general sketch of the original dude, I just threw the picture completely out the window, and so then I just started doing the best as I could. And I guess this maybe won't count since I was kind of looking at all of this shit while I was doing it, but it still feels pretty accomplished. I mean, his face looks weird as shit. If that can focus. Any day now. Yeah. And, just later on, I decided to add in a Dio. Yeah, my original goal was to just make the head in the tendrils. But I decided, hey, let's just make the chains into Hermit Purple with the fucking rose in the center of it. Yeah, that's not focusing. But Dio was done much later. So, like, as I was doing the original sketch for the poor priest guy that was like this, I was just going around and doing like, just sort of, whatever, loosely mimicking the shape of the waves that were around him in the cover art. And so then the last thing that I used the reference for was the title, which I didn't completely draw it with the reference. I just sort of made like a single line, just like each thing that you see here was just started out as like a single line thing instead of like an actual shape. So yeah, it still turned out pretty good, all things considered. I mean, the font gets a little weird, but it still looks pretty cool. And later on, I added the Holy Diver at the bottom, top and bottom. It's kind of hard to see, but it's there. It's looking pretty cool and all. So when I finally decided to come back and draw this guy as Zawarudo, it definitely took like a few attempts, but it was but like the shape was well worth it. I should have been making videos of this as I did it. That would have been a much better thing. Just like every so often I'll just upload a video just like, hey, you suck at drawing? Look, I did this thing. You do this thing. Come back in the next video and do another thing. Yeah, I can't edit, because that shit costs money. So yeah, after I started getting some general sketches of him, I decided to leave the whip, the whole chain vine whip thing alone for a while, and then start working on this huge, like, mountainous stone flaming wall, whatever. and so I'm pretty proud of the shapes that I got. I mean, some of them are a little weird, like this one, but it actually turned out pretty well, much better than I was expecting. And so later I went back to him and I tried making it, instead of doing like that, I wanted to make like the lines that I had for the fingers as like knives that he was holding, you know, kind of like this. But that wasn't working out, so I just went back to the fingers, and they turned out great. I mean, they're a little long and spindly, but hey, the original character on this cover was kind of weird, long, and spindly. But it still looked a lot like Zawarudo, so yeah. So then what did I work on next? I think I worked on like getting like a rough, like it was slower going than just but it wasn't like super detailed. And you gotta remember, although this may look as awesome as it does now, back when I was doing this, you could barely see it, because using a hardness 5 pencil, which is really good. They last a really fucking long time, and they're great for sketches because they erase easily, and you don't see as much of it nearly as much of it as soft or black or pencils whenever you're like going back over it or trying to erase it. So yeah, then I did the waves thing. Then I think I just started getting like rough shapes for like all the arms and stuff, and then just went over them until I thought, that's good enough. So yeah, they kind of look a little weird. The whole Vine Whip thing, like, took a little while to make, because you're like kind of just like picking random points to go like, and we have a thorn jutting out here and on this side, and one pointing out the opposite way, you know, that sort of thing. But and it looks kind of janky at some places, but I think it worked out well. I mean, you can barely even notice it now, so that's cool. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I swear, whenever I tilt my phone, like, the whip looks fucking 3D. It's crazy. Damn, I might have to experiment more with that. Come up with some new shit. So yeah, you know, a lot of times with drawing Zawarudo, the hardest part is the eyes. I know it's not focusing because this phone's a piece of shit, apparently. Maybe, is it like dirty? Okay, no, I just have to stay at this distance. Like, you can see they're like, they're maybe a little off, but like, because of the way his head is shaped, it kind of makes it a bit more difficult than doing eyes on a normal face. Because then you end up having one that's completely fucking lopsided. And like, it looked good in the rough sketch until you started making a few darker lines, and then you went, oh shit, this looks stupid as fuck. And so yeah, then I added more detail to the top of this, the like huge mountain wall, whatever. Then I think I went to like do some stuff over on Jonathan, and as you can see, his face looks really fucking weird. But it's better than what it could have been. I'm still proud of this. I mean, there's a certain style of it. There's a certain charm. I like it. It kind of fits with the whole picture. Now that I look back. So yeah. I think the hardest parts about making Jonathan were, one, the face, making sure that it didn't look stupid as shit, and even here you can kind of see I kind of had to just black out this side of the face because I don't think I could have made that look good. The hair, it could be better, but it wouldn't be the hardest part. One of the hardest things was actually getting his clothes and having them be some kind of detailed, because when you draw, you just want things to look nice and detailed and actually be very distinguishable. But trying to do that underneath a fuck ton of vines, that was not an easy task, and I don't think it paid off very well. But it doesn't matter, it didn't really affect the whole picture overall. So then, I think after that, I went over to like the moon, and I thought back to a video where you just see some anime girls sticking their heads out a window and howling at the moon, and then it just pans to the moon with Dio's face and just goes, hey! And so I thought, hey, that would be fun. It looks kind of stupid, and it doesn't look as good as that one. And even that one is a little messed up, because like the contours around the eyes are too big. But I mean, it's better than what it could have been. And then I just started drawing little circles on it, just for like crater effect. Yeah, I tried to like get as much details of the face on without it actually having to overlap. So as you can see here, I still got like a little bit of his eyebrow over here. So yeah, at a certain point, I was just trying to see, I was scared to mess with this any further, because I thought, hey, this is going pretty well. So then I thought, well, it's based off of a cover made by Ronnie James Dio for Holy Diver, so I should try to put Holy Diver in it. This is not the first attempt. I tried like several times putting it across the top, inside the D, just like weird layers and shit. It all looked horrible until I just got a hold of my senses and just thought, oh yeah, use the other letters for spacing. That's smart. But that happened much later in the process. So then I think what I did was, because I thought this was as good as it's gonna get, I should just preserve it now. I went and started inking everything. So yeah, and I think this was before Dio actually came into the picture here. No, he was there. Yeah. Yeah, my process for drawing Dio was like, I looked at that picture that I have of him on the wall. Zoom in. Zoom. There we go. And just sort of like, oh yeah, I can just look off of that. And yeah, it kind of worked. I mean, I tried doing details for her face, but it looked kind of wonky. So then, as I was shading with the ink, I accidentally went over it. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I can cover the rest of this up and just have it be like, ooh, shadowy and intimidating. Oh yeah, and you can still see like some of the details. So it actually turned out better than just a lazy thing. And the hair was probably where I struggled the most with this. Cause like, I don't know why, but I was trying to go for like a spread out squid thing, like unintentionally at first, but then I eventually got my shit together. And then just went down to the neck, did the collar, or did the piece of the jacket starting out right where it hits the side of the head, and just going out and curving, and just making some more lines. He looks wonky. Like, his left shoulder is like a mile away from his head, while the right one is like almost in his fucking ear. And he's got like a weirdly short arm. But yeah, it turned out pretty good. And the thing I was doing at first was I was just gonna have him like holding Jonathan, kind of similar to how he was holding his head in the shipwreck. But then I realized I wasn't gonna be able to pull that off, so I just sort of left it with that weird hand pose right there. And I just came back and was like, oh hey, since I have him grabbing near Jonathan's neck, have him be fucking eating blood, because he's a vampire. He loves Joestar blood. That's like the best shit. Psycho Nihai de Azada. I messed up that phrase. So yeah, then I inked, and then I thought, I could probably do better than this. So I took this pencil, the same one that I keep using, and eventually it will disappear. Oh, I should make a video of that. The day when poor little stubby 5H goes bye-bye. Whatever, no one's watching to this point. I can say whatever the fuck I want. But I won't, because I still want to be entertaining. No, quote-unquote entertaining. I I'm not sure who finds this as entertainment. It's just more a douchebag showing off, hey, I learned how to draw. And I learned how to do it from spiting people. So yeah, I started just like taking like a black ink pen and just sort of just like certain patterns. And as you can see, I left space for white because when you see like water moving and like waves and shit, it's not all blue. There's like white stuff always like on the edge and all that. So yeah, and even left a lot of area around him, which will come into effect later, but not by much. Yeah, that right there was supposed to be more water, but it doesn't really work anymore. But it's alright. It's still not. It still didn't ruin the drawing. Sorry, I'm losing my shit. So yeah, the next thing I did was I went back to listen to one of the songs, and I realized, oh shit, he has a chain wrapped around his forearm. He's not just holding that with his bare hand. Which kind of saved me in the long run, because I had also realized I didn't have him really holding it. It was just sort of there next to his fingers. Like it was just coming out of his middle finger socket. Fuck you, Joestars. So then it took and just did singular lines around the forearm of the Hermit Purple thing. And I would later come back to fully sketch like full-on shapes of the vines and shit. But I just sort of left that as it was. Then I went around looking at the body, and I could add some more detail here and here. Here and ooh, what's this? More muscly detail? And I went, oh wait, I forgot his oxygen tanks. So I sort of added those on a little late. And as you can see, this is a lazy thing that I did. If you watch the anime or read the manga, you'll notice that on his forearms and on the back of his hands, like the plating on it has this like circle opening. And I didn't feel like just detailing more on the arms, so I just completely shaded it in black. So yeah. So yeah, I think the hardest, other than like getting the eyes and head shape right for him, the hardest part of making Zawardo was like these big titty strap bandoliers. Because like you gotta make it to where they look nice, but they don't look stupid. Which I know that doesn't make sense what I just said, but if you were to try and draw this, you'd know exactly what I fucking mean. So yeah, after that, I started doing some more detail around here, just doing more skirches with the pencil. As you can see here, I tried to do some with the pen, but I decided maybe it's a smart idea to do pencil first if I want to add anything. So then after that, I decided, hey, this cover has clouds and also detailed background, and this looks white and blank and boring as shit. Like there's like very little going on in the top half compared to the bottom half, where there's a fucking tsunami and a mountain range as a dude gets drowned and fingered in the neck while also being hugged by a weird pink starfish thing. So yeah, I then just ended up going just all over, trying not to interlap into the things that I've drawn, because I didn't want to be sloppy with this. I mean, it's really easy to be lazy with a drawing. Like, and most often it happens when you're making a drawing that someone asked you to make. Like, it's not something that you wanted, that you just went and draw because you wanted to. It's just, but here, I actually wanted to draw this, and after some determination, it ended up not being shitty, and I ended up not being lazy. So yeah, I went sort of just like all that with a pencil. And as you can kind of see here, you see a lot of like lines from the pencil, but that wasn't from like the first pass. Instead, I'm talking about like the places where this purple shit is, because that was gonna act as the clouds. And keep in mind, during this part, I was still super reluctant about coloring and detailing this shit. God, I'm very tired. This is starting to look 3D as shit, which is cool, but at the same time, it's fucking with my brain. I need to get some sleep after this. So yeah, pretty much where all the purple stuff is where I started doing like the and I even did some like straight through the Dio. And like, I don't think the Holy Diver thing was there at that point, or if it was a very bad one. Yeah, I just started doing that and just random shapes. At first, it was just very weird looking oval shapes, like little nubs that would just have, just like many lines, just forming a weird nub, and then just have a bunch of them next to each other. And then I realized, oh wait, I can make this better. And so instead of just thinking, oh, just little nubs, oval clouds, fucking just do some lines in some semi-random places, and then try to connect them. Connect as in, not like, like, okay. So yeah, that ended up being the rough sketches for the clouds. And so then I decided to go and I think that's when I decided to go and like fully detail these vines. And like after the clouds, I took a red color pencil and used it to fill in this Dio logo, because I thought it needed to be filled in, and it looked kind of nice, even though the rest was just blank. Yeah, at one point before this, I just thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to color this. I shouldn't color this. I should just leave it black and white. Because that's the thing. Whenever you, like, draw stuff a lot, and you want things to be good, you get scared about coloring them. Because you're worried, oh no, I'm going to do something wrong, and it's going to ruin the whole fucking thing. Which has happened to me many times. And that whip is still doing the 3D thing to my eyes. I'm not sure if anyone else can see that, but it is fucking with my brain. So yeah, after that, I decided to do something that I wouldn't normally, was really, it took a lot of deliberation to decide whether or not I was going to do it. And it was kind of swayed and biased because I'd already done the Dio logo. But I decided to try and start doing Xawardo. So instead of going straight to color pencils or gel pens, I decided I'd go in with this pencil and just like press down hard with like different pressures at different points. And it ended up looking alright. It looked decent. I mean, it was kind of hard to tell because this thing was kind of starting to get a dull tip. And I didn't want, and I'm worried about sharpening this thing too much because then it's just going to not exist. and it's like the perfect pencil for doing these sketches. You can still see it, but it's much, be like, you can get rid of it if you don't like it. It's awesome. But yeah, so my first foray into coloring this monstrosity, after the whole press down with the pencil thing, was to go to Zawarudo's. No, it wasn't to go to his face. What was it? Actually, I think it was. Because, like, yeah, I went to his face, and I normally don't use this black one at the end, because just from experience, the black one seemed to, like, break or just stop working much faster and easier than all the others. So I was just, and I wouldn't use that one anyway. So I was using these two, the dark gray and light gray, and I forgot that the dark gray was actually a decent substitute for the black. Oh, sort of decent. You can still see detail if the camera would fucking focus. But so yeah, he ended up looking very wonky. But I decided I'd at least do the rest of, like, the lower half of the face. Not the heart, though. I didn't come back to that until way later. And so then I thought, maybe if I start doing other parts, it'll make it look better. And so I started taking the light gray one to the torso. It's just like, it's not really working that well, and it's starting to dry out for some reason. So then at that point, I kind of called it quits for a while. I was just sort of upset with myself, because it felt like I just ruined a potential masterpiece, which this, far be it for me to say that this is a masterpiece, but it's pretty good for my standards, especially considering that I wasn't just looking at Google Images the whole time. And so, then, after a while, I decided, okay, maybe I should come back and start coloring things, because color could be really good. So I think the first thing that I colored was the vines. Yeah, and the thing was, before I had started coloring it, I actually had this thing where, like, based on, like, the position of the vine, I would have an additional line on the inside, but, like, placed to, like, always to the lower disposition, based on where the vine was and how it was twisting and all that shit. So it ended up getting, so then afterwards I ended up combining two purples into it, and it's got some pretty good shading. God, that is messing with my eyes. And so then I went down here, did these vines, and then I decided, you know what, fuck it, I'll color in Jonathan. And so I took the dark blue marker to, like, the strands of his outer bits of his hair, and have as few things going through, because part of it I was looking at the photo that I have, the thing that I drew over here, which I know you can barely see it, but he sort of had something similar going on. So yeah, I just sort of did that with the darker one, and then went back in with the lighter one, and it turned out pretty good. And took the darker one to places like specific spots on the shoulder pad and, like, around the collar, and then the lighter blue, for like the torso shirt or whatever. And yeah, it didn't look as great as I was hoping it would, but it still worked. And then eventually I would come back to this, but first we would go over to this guy, and starting with these huge ass booby straps, we go all the way down. We take the, like, brown orange down down the weird side. Right? And we do that to both of them. And then we do it in like weird stripe patterns to try and give the things a little depth. And I kind of fucked up here, but it still kind of worked. And I just went back over it with yellow. And so then the rest was just me going in with the like brown orange and just sort of like making lines for detail and stuff that I knew to make from experience, because I'm fucking obsessed with drawing Dio for some reason. And so I just went around and based on my own experience and whatever made sense based on the position, and I just took the like brown orange one to it and then went back over with the yellow one to get all the empty space, and it turned out great. I even did some stuff down here, and there's this thing that was unintentional, but it's kind of cool, but you can't fucking see it. I don't know, it's like the way whatever, you don't care about that. And so yeah, you see here on the knuckles, it was basically like starting from the bottom, it would start out with like a lot of like the brown orange and only a little bit of yellow, and as it went further up, it would have a decreasing amount of brown orange and increasing amount of yellow. The chest, I just sort of went wild on it, because like as I was inking, I had like way earlier, I'd already made these 3 lines in the chest, so I was just like, fuck it, I'll just doodle all kinds of interesting details all over him, and it didn't ruin it, surprisingly. And so after I was done with the yellow and orange, on Zuardo at least, I grabbed the 2 grays, and I decided to go back and actually try and shade them and like get different parts with different ones and all, and it turned out pretty well. Surprisingly, it turned out much better. It ended up fixing the whole mistake of weird face. And so then after that was all fixed up, I think then I went for like all the heart shit. Not these like green sparkly things all around them. That was later, but like this heart, these hearts, you know, just like getting the hearts. And then I went over to Dio. I was thinking, oh well, I should know how he's shaded. I've seen him a bajillion times. So then I just went in with the brown and orange, but only for his clothes. But I only used it for like parts of his jacket. I didn't actually use it for any of his hair. His hair was just plain yellow. And then I went back over the jacket with some yellow. You can see I got some places, hard to get places in there. Then went over with the light gray. Then I took the green from the hearts and used it all over this. And then that's pretty much when I grabbed one of the color pencils to do the skin tones. And I tried using one of these paper stumps to like try to blend them to try to like blend the colors into the white to make it seem like, oh, it seems more like they're in the water and being submerged and shit. But it didn't fully work the way I intended it to. And so then after doing all that, I decided I saw that the layer of penciling that I did on the mountains was starting to fade. So I just went in and but I specifically left pseudo random spaces open, like kind of more vacant than others, as to like signify, hey, this is where you do the thing later. And so yeah, then I left that, and then I decided to take a blue gel pen to the water to give it more detail, make it seem more like water. And then I took an orange one to all the places in the mountain that I had left vacant. And at first I was being kind of sloppy with it. It looked all kind of rough. But now looking back, if I had actually filled those things all the way, it would have not looked nearly as cool. So yeah, that ended up being a bonus. And so then I went in and the clouds, I was a bit conflicted on what color to make the clouds. Because, like, I didn't want them to just be black. Especially since you use black ink a lot more than the others, which makes it more expensive. But at the same time, blue is just... There's enough blue in this. There's the water in Jonathan, which might not seem like that much now, but at that point, it was just enough. I didn't... And at this point, I'd already gotten the orange in, so might as well make this as vibrant and colorful as possible. So I grabbed what I felt was the best fitting for this specific situation, the purple one, and started going over all the spaces that I sort of just scratched it with my pencil. Even went in and around the Holy Diver thing, and that ended up looking really cool. In fact, it's like the coolest cloud on the thing. And like some of the clouds are a little wonky, but like it's got like a really good effect, like a sort of misty type feel. And so then I just decided to go in and add these green sparkly things, because there was a scene in the anime where when bringing out the world, or there were like green shine glitters, whatever. And I thought it looked pretty cool, so might as well do it. I mean, it definitely didn't hurt the drawing at all. And so, then, after a while, I just started to feel like there was something missing from this. Because, like, the clouds, while they were pretty cool, they didn't look that good. And I started to realize that the reason that was because the background was just completely white, like behind them. So I took this put it at an angle, and just sort of all over, trying to avoid getting inside of stuff, trying to like avoid coloring outside the lines, you know. And it ended up improving the drawing. I mean, it may be hard to see on the video, but in real life, it actually did a good deal of improvement. Although it's probably going to fade away in like a few weeks. And so yeah, after that, there wasn't really much else that I could do, which kind of made me a little sad, because like I've been doing so much with this. There's got to be more that I can do, more ways that I can improve. And all I could really think of was like having the ray by the moon just like passing by it, like behind it you can see like a Y sort of. And I just signed my name, because why not? And then I'm not really sure. Then I decided to make this video. But there's an important reason why I'm doing this. Not just because I really like the drawing and all, and the phone's actually doing 3D shit with it. Alright, that's cool. But the reason that I'm making a video specifically for this drawing, and not just saving it for like some subscriber special or whatever, that's probably never coming, is because while making this, I had messed up a ton of times. Some of them were we're like, oh, that could easily be just erased and fixed. But others were like, oh shit, that's permanent. I'm never gonna be able to get rid of that. I mean, just ask the fucking moon right there that I should have never made a face on. But throughout all the hardships of making mistakes, I ended up finding ways to like take each mistake and then turn it around and then make that permanent thing into something that was actually good and sped me towards the goal of what I wanted out of this picture. And to be honest, if I didn't have that kind of determination while making it, it would have looked much shittier, or would have never been finished. So yeah, even though no one's watched to this part of the video, still, whenever you're drawing or really doing anything, and you make a mistake that you feel is irreversible, just take it and just find a way to turn it around. Work off of that mistake and you'll get something awesome like this that my phone is making look way too cool, because it's either feast or famine with this fucking thing. Oh, 3D whip. God, I gotta play with that, around with that more. That's fun. So yeah, anyway, that was just my video walking you through my process of making this thing. I'm really proud of it. I probably just should have come out and said, hey, I made a lot of mistakes and I still made it look good, so let that be a thing for you, but I decided to overcomplicate it for some reason and make it like 50 minutes long. Jesus Christ. But yeah, this has been Dio's Art Emporium, and remember, you can overcome adversities, even if it is a very bad-looking moon thing. Jesus Christ. And you can make something great out of your mistakes. So, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and see you.